moderator of today's webinar. Friends, today's topic is on RCM, which is a very burning topic. We face many issues and problems. To resolve our issues and problems, today we are having with us CA Rohit Vaswani ji from Delhi. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request and giving your valuable time. Friends, CA Rohit Vaswani ji is a practicing chartered accountant since 1998. He is he practiced in indirect taxes, having experience in for more than 18 years, having been member of VAT and indirect tax committee of NIRC, rendering lectures in various branches, working as a mediator in TDSAT, member of Sales Tax Bar Association. He presents the presentation has been made at various PSUs, many study circle of ICAI, various bar association including Sales Tax Bar Association, Delhi, Professional Forum and many more. Friends, मैं बस इतना ही कहूँगा सीए रोहित वासवानी जी के लिए कि परिंदों को मंजिल मिलेगी यकीनन, ये फैले हुए उनके पर बोलते हैं, कुछ लोग खामोश रहते हैं जमाने में जिनके हुनर बोलते हैं। तो ऐसे ही आज हमारे बीच एक हुनर है, ए वेरी लर्निंग स्पीकर सीए रोहित वासवानी जी। आई रिक्वेस्ट सीए रोहित वासवानी जी टू प्लीज टेक द चार्ज ऑफ दिस सेशन। थैंक यू।
रोहित जी, ऑल योर्स।
Sir,
Rohit ji, all yours.
Rohit sir.
Yes.
Thank you, Rakesh ji. Good morning to all of you, my professional friends from all over the country. First of all, I would like to thank these organizers for giving me this opportunity, and especially Vijay Keval Ramani ji, Rakesh Agrawal ji, and all other office bearers of the various taxation bar associations and various tax practitioners associations. I think many of you must be hearing me first time, because on this forum, I have come first time. As we all know that this world is going through a very hard phase, but we all professionals and we all Indians are making it live and utilize our time with the various discussion on digital platform. And this is one of the initiative taken by the Tax Practitioners Association, Thane, along with various associations. Friends, many things about the situation could be discussed, but I am directly going to the topic which has been assigned to me, and give me some few minutes for making me the background, because first time I am making presentation before this forum, and I am working in GST since 2016. And I have been working in Central Excise, Service Tax and Sales Tax since the starting of my practice. And indirect taxes has been my core area of practice since starting. After making the basic, and I would try to cover each and every aspect relating to reverse charge mechanism under the GST. And once the presentation is over, we can make it interactive through the chat option, which just has been told by the moderator, and we will be taking up the queries also. Friends, if you see the GST law, which has been implemented since 2017, and the implementation of the GST has not been fully completed yet, because yet many issues needs to be sorted out, and one of the foremost system for filing of the return procedure is yet to be streamlined in view of the various provisions under the GST law. So in a manner, we can say GST is still going through the transition phase, and it may take some time, and time may be in years, and this time may be extended due to this unprecedented COVID-19 situation. And just in a slide, I will tell you the fundamental 5 pillars of the GST law, how we see the GST, and on what basis the GST is going on in India under the CGST Act 2017 and Perimetria State GST Acts, along with the IGST Act 2017. The first pillar in the GST law is the liability section, And today, which we are going to discuss, because the reverse charge, what we are going to discuss is part of the liability section, because 9 subsection 3 and 9 subsection 4 are the sections which are dealing with the reverse charge. So liability is the first most fundamental pillar of any taxation statutes, and on the basis of the liability, the tax liability is determined. For example, in the erstwhile central excise law, the liability was on the manufacturer, and once the manufacturing activities were done, the liability arose, and the payment of the excise duty was deferred till the removal of the goods from the factory. And part is the supply, which is read with section 7 of the CGST Act. Second pillar of the GST law is the time of supply. As I told you that in case of the central excise, the time of the payment was at the time of removal of goods from the factory. But in case of GST section 12 and 13 of the CGST Act is handling the time of supply relating to the goods and services. And they tell us that we are required to deposit the GST, when we are required to pay the GST to the government. So that is the time of supply. Liability and time of supply are parallel provisions which make the taxation law workable. Here in GST, we have a very specialized concept, that is the place of supply. Although we were having this concept under the erstwhile service tax provisions also, the place of provision of services, and this concept is in the IGST as in the Constitution. The power relating to the formulation of law relating to the place of supply has been given to the central government, and central government exercising the constitutional power has enacted the IGST Act 2017, which is the exclusive domain of the central government. And this and other laws was having the limited application, and in direct taxes also this place of supply like provisions, like PE provisions, like other citus of taxation related issues are based on the country as a whole. But in GST, the place of supply concept is state-wise. That's why it's making it very unique, very special law. And in place of supply, we will discuss the reverse charge provision also, that in case of reverse charge, how this place of supply provisions are impacting. Then the fundamental pillar, we have the valuation. And valuation is very important part so far as the taxation statutes are governed. In valuation, we see many provisions which talks about the arm's length value or the open market price or the market value. Valuation is basically in GST the transaction value, but when there is a transaction between related parties and between the distinct person, then we need to go beyond the transaction value and we need to refer to the rules for determining the valuation. And the last fundamental pillar of this GST law is the input tax credit. Friends, this GST law, as we all are aware, is the value-added tax system. And in the value-added tax system, the foremost important concept is that whatever tax has been paid earlier by the manufacturer or in the chain of supply chain earlier suppliers, that will be allowed as a credit. And this credit mechanism is making the law as a value-added tax system. And it is like that the whole train, if you see, is being run by the engine. There is one engine and the bogies of the train are attached to that one engine. In the GST law, the engine is the value-added tax system ITC provisions, which makes it the really value-added tax system. With these 5 fundamental pillars of GST law, each one of this topic is very important and each one can be discussed for hours and days. And we have been discussing it since 2016, each and every, and even today also, these all concepts are very live. It is not a situation we can say that everything is settled and there are no issues so far as the fundamental pillars of the GST law is concerned. But we are going to discuss today a specific topic, very important topic, which important in the sense in day-to-day working, in day-to-day business life, day-to-day professional life, which we face the reverse charge in many cases. And after this one more slide, I would like to show you that what are the 5 game changers in the GST law. When I'm talking the game changers, you will yourself realize then when these fundamental issues are there, which we are struggling, and one by one these issues are being sorted out by the government. The first game changer is the GSTN portal. The portal is one nation, one tax, which we say really is the GSTN portal is making the nation, one tax, as any person sitting in any state will be using the same portal for the filing of the returns, for the purpose of registration, for the purpose of all other compliances. This was not the situation in VAT regime. This was not the situation in any other indirect taxation regime. There were separate returns for each state in VAT. There were separate returns for excise. There were separate returns for service tax. And this portal and the compliance forms are similar all across the length of the country. And we are struggling with the technical glitches of the GSTN portal also. But if you see as a concept, this is a very important concept which is making the law harmonized all over the country. And second game changer in the GST law is the invoice level matching. And many discussions has been held, many issues are taking place, and the law is making its shape. Recently, we have Rule 36 sub Rule 4, where the matching with the GSTR 2A has been made mandatory, and the earlier limit from 1st of October 19 was 20%. Basically, it is a tolerance limit which has been reduced to 10%. 10% is the tolerance limit where a supplier can avail the credit in addition to the credit which is being reflected in GSTR 2A. This is very important game changer, and it is going to be settled once the proper return system, proper return filing system is in place. And as we all know that the new return system proposed to be implemented from April 1st has been already postponed by 39th GST Council meeting to the 1st of October 2020. So let's wait for the 1st of October as this situation, panic situation of the COVID-19 once gets settled. This period I think may also be extended further. Then we have the third game changer in the GST is the reverse charge mechanism, which we are going to discuss today in detail. And the reverse charge mechanism, if you see, it started from 1st of July 2017 until 13th of October. Section 9 subsection 4 was alive, and the reverse charge was in its real shape, where any supplies received from unregistered supplier was liable for GST under the RCM mechanism. But as you all know, by the CGST Amendment Act 2018, effective from 1st of February 2019, this reverse charge mechanism section has been replaced by the new section, and it is in related to certain transactions only, and that is related to the real estate transaction where the developer model is there. And the fourth game changer is the e-way bill system, which is already in place, which we are seeing that e-way bill system is being used. And in recently the notification 35/2020, where the relief has been given related to the e-way bill system, that these e-way bill which are going to be expired till 15th of April will be deemed to be the valid up to 30th of April. But as the lockdown period has already been extended, this needs to be further extended, and I am sure that further relaxation will also be going to come. So this e-way bill system is also a game changer in the GST law, which is yet to be really worked properly, because it is only working on this model of generation of e-way bill. It needs to be digitally linked with the vehicles, which is being done slowly. And then the fifth and the last important game changer in the GST law, which is the harmonized system of nomenclature, which we call the HSN code, which is not really taking its shape as it should have been, or as the government wanted to play an important role. And this code is a game changer, and this code has many implications which we are not going to discuss today. With this, we have the new life, and the new life is the supply, and the supply is defined in section 7, and which includes the supply of goods and or services. Both type of supplies are covered in the supply. And very importantly, in this section, which I want to highlight here relating to the reverse charge mechanism, is the importation of service. This is a critical issue in RCM, which we are going to discuss in detail. I am discussing it here 7 because you should be aware that importation of service has specifically been included in the definition of the supply. It means it is not an outward supply, it is an inward supply, but it is a supply as per section 7. We will see the implication how it is going to play a role in the reverse charge system. And then we have a specified schedule 1 where supply will be there even if there is no consideration. Because to be a supply, there are 4 important ingredients that we will also see in a flash manner. This is background is very important once we start discussing really on the reverse charge system. Then we have certain activities which will be treated either as the supply of service or as a supply of goods. These activities first need to be full supply, then only we will determine whether this supply is supply of service or supply of goods. As in case of works contract, we all are aware that is treated as a supply of service, although there are many goods involved in the execution of the works contract, then also it is treated as a supply of service. It is a deeming fiction under schedule 2, where a supply is categorized either as a supply of goods or as a supply of service. And what are the fundamental foremost concept of the supply is the section 7(1) clause A, which is talking about that any form of supply that could be the goods or services and sale by way of sale, transfer, barter, exchange, license, rental, lease or disposal. Because this understanding of supply is very important, because in case of critical issues related to reverse charge mechanism, we generally got confused whether it will be covered under RCM or not. To be covered under reverse charge, first of all, we need to determine whether it is a supply or not. If something is not supply, there cannot be a tax on it. If there cannot be a tax on it, there cannot be a reverse charge also on it. And the concept of exemption is also very important so far as the reverse charge is concept is concerned. And these all types of forms of supply are covered, and there are 4 conditions. In a very fast manner, I am going this basic background so that we can easily discuss. There is a mandatory condition for a consideration, that there should be consideration to become it as a supply. And by a person, there is no requirement of having the 2 person, or there is no requirement of having the more than 1 person. It means there can be a supply by 1 person to himself or herself. There can be a self-supply also, as we all know that stock transfer to a different GST and or to a different state under the GST regime is supply. Although it is a supply by 1 person to himself, then also it is a supply under the GST law. Then we coming to the in the course or furtherance of business. Friend, this concept, if you ask me, what are the most important concept in the GST law? I would say there are 2 most important concept in the GST law. One is the IGST, place of supply. Another is the in the course of furtherance of business. In case of reverse charge mechanism, if there is a liability to pay RCM, suppose 9(4) was there for a certain period and 9(4) is still there. 9(4) notification is still there, but limited for the real estate. And in case of real estate, it becomes very important when there is a supply from unregistered owner of the land and there is a supply of development rights. Then question comes, whether it is in the course of furtherance of business. If it is in the course of furtherance of business, it becomes supply. Once it becomes supply, then the reverse charge comes into the trigger, and the promoter or developer of the project is liable to pay RCM against the development rights which have been received from the unregistered owner in many circumstances. This is only the example I am giving. There are many permutations and combinations so far as the real estate transactions are concerned. So this in the course or furtherance of business, so far as the RCM is concerned, is very important because it is a criteria whether it will be a supply or not supply, made or agreed to be made. This is the, it means advance also covered under the definition of supply. So this is the basic fundamental of the supply. Now coming to this, which is directly related to the reverse charge, because if you see the notification of reverse charge 10/2017 IGST rate, which is the RCM notification, we can call it as a master notification for reverse charge mechanism. And the IGST notification has two more entries than the CGST notification. CGST notification 13/2017 is related to the intra-state supplies, and 10/2017 IGST is relating to the IGST transactions where import of service is one of the entry in the notification where the reverse charge is applicable. Friends, this, if you see that import of service is a supply, if it is for consideration, but here it says whether or not in the course of furtherance of business. The important part here is that if a personal individual is availing the services from out of India, and if it is covered as an import of services, then he may be liable to pay the GST under reverse charge if there is no exemption given, although certain exemptions has been allowed, that also I'm going to discuss here. Otherwise, if we simply say that any service which has been imported for personal use is also covered within the definition of supply, and that could be supply under RCM also, and there could be a case of reverse charge. Now, if you see the charging section levy, which we are coming section 9 and section 9(1), this is not a subject for today's discussion. This is general levy and collection, which we call the forward charge in our GST. And what this section is giving the important terms which we are discussing, because these important terms also become important so far as the liability under RCM is also concerned, because the liability to pay GST is on the taxable person, and taxable person is the person who is liable to get registered. It means the liability to pay GST is related to liability to register under the GST law. And for registration, we have main section 22, 23, and 24, which gives the provisions relating to the registration under the GST law. And in case of section 22, there are certain aggregate turnover limit has been given in section 22, where a person will be liable if its supply crosses the limit of 20 lakhs or say 10 lakhs as per depending upon the state of supplier. And liability to pay GST under GST can be summarized in this chart. Although these all concepts are very important, fundamental, basic concepts of the GST, and it is not that if we have read it once, we need to revisit it every time and every time whenever there is any issue arising out of the GST. The liability under 9(1) is coming as a forward charge, and it is referring to a taxable person, and taxable person is referring to the registration, and registration is referring to section 9(3) also, where certain notified services are liable for reverse charge. And in case of reverse charge, there is a mandatory registration, and in case of reverse charge under 9(4) also. And if the reverse charge is triggered, then you may be liable to register even your turnover is not exceeding the prescribed limit in the section 22. So this is the ecosystem of the GST liability so far as the liability under GST is concerned. Now, with this background, let us see how the reverse charge is working. And my task is quite easier now because the background I have given and fundamental issues has been discussed there. if you see the reverse charge, it has been defined also in the definition section 2 subclause 98 of the CGST Act. The reverse charge has been defined, and it says reverse charge means the liability to pay tax by the recipient. By the recipient. This is liability to pay tax by the recipient, and that is under 9394 or section 53 and 54 so far as the IGST law is concerned. So that is the case. The reverse charge has been defined under the CGST law. And if you see section 9 subsection 3, because now onwards our main thrust today is going to discuss the section 9 subsection 3, because 9 subsection 4 is very limited applicability only in case of real estate transactions, and this 9.3 is very practical and it is applicable for many of the transactions which we are going to see. Let's see how this section 9.3 has been given in the section, that by way of notification there could be a categories of supply which can be specified by the government. For what? For the purpose of payment of tax. By whom? Not by the supplier, but by the recipient. So that is, in case general liability is on the supplier, but here the liability has been shifted to the recipient. So that's why this is, we are calling the reverse charge, and it is being paid by the recipient. And one thing is also important to note here, that once the liability has been shifted to the recipient, then recipient shall act as a supplier and shall apply such recipient as he is the person liable for paying the tax in relation to that supply. Now, in this case, the recipient takes foot of the supplier, and the liability is being discharged as he is the supplier himself. So that is what section 9 subsection 3 is saying in this liability section. We have further 9.4 also, as I have already mentioned you, that we are not going to much discuss on this liability, but here important part is that after the amendment in the CGST Amendment Act 2018, now the notification, by notification the class of registered person will be notified who will be liable to pay reverse charge under section 9.4, and also in respect of certain specified categories of supply. It is not related to all supply. I give you example that in case the builder or the real estate developer is purchasing the cement from unregistered supplier, then he is liable to pay RCM, liable to pay GST and RCM. Whereas if a normal person is buying a cement, normal registered person is buying a cement for his repair work, for his any other use, then there is no reverse charge. This reverse charge is only in case of the builders real estate transactions where they are procuring the material from unregistered suppliers. So this 9.4 has the limited applicability so far as the current situation is concerned. Now come to this section 2 clause 93, which is the definition section of recipient. Now we are starting the core discussion on this reverse charge concept. The recipient, who is recipient? Because in recently the Mohit Minerals case in the Gujarat High Court in case of Ocean Freight, which we are going to discuss, which has been decided in favor of the petitioner, and where the entry number 10 of the notification 10/2017 has been struck down, which talks about the reverse charge in case of Ocean Freight. So this definition becomes very important, that who actually is the recipient, because liability is on recipient. It is not the liability of anybody. The recipient, in case where the consideration is payable, this is very important, the person who is liable to pay the consideration. Now, if you see, in case of GTA services, that freight is being recovered by the supplier on the face of the invoice, and in the invoice he charges freight also, apart from the value of the supply of goods, the freight is also being added, and then the whole amount, because it is a composite supply, the GST is being charged. Sometimes the question comes that freight is being paid, charged on the invoice, whether it will be covered under reverse charge or not under reverse charge. This question is simply answered with the definition of recipient, that who is liable to pay the freight. The person who is liable to pay the freight to the GTA, Goods Transport Agency, will be liable for RCM liability also, even if that freight may be recovered from the third person, that freight may be recovered from the customer, that freight may be recovered from any other person, the customer or any other person who is making the payment of freight under the invoice is not liable for RCM. The person who is making the payment of consideration is liable. And there are two cases also where no consideration is paid in case of goods, and where no consideration paid is in case of supply of services, and both cases where the goods has been made available and where the services has been rendered covers the recipient, and recipient definition also covers the agent also, who is acting on behalf of the principal. If there is a relationship of agent and principal, then the agent will also be treated as the recipient. So this is the important definition. Now coming to reverse charge on goods. This is notification 4/2017 IGST rate. I am referring to IGST notification intentionally because there are perimetria CGST notifications also. And as I already told you, in case of services, reverse charge on supply of services, the notification 10/2017 IGST having two more extra entry, which is not there in case of CGST notification. Hence, I am referring to the IGST notification, which covers all types of supply where the reverse charge is applicable. Just in a summary manner, this is not each and every entry which we are going to discuss today. That is not the purpose to discuss each and every entry. The purpose is to understand the intricacies, critical issues under the RCM, and going through this one by one, what types of goods are there where the RCM is applicable, and cashew nuts, which is supplied by the agriculturist, because agriculturists per se are not liable to register under GST as per section 23. Then it becomes very important. There are certain supply which are not exempt, which are taxable supply. But as the agriculturists are not liable for registration, there is no question of payment of GST by the agriculturists on those supplies. And those supplies has been kept under the RCM. And if cashew nuts not shelled or peeled has been provided, that is under RCM. BD wrappers supplied by agriculturists to the registered person under RCM. Tobacco leaves, we also tendu leaves and tobacco leaves also both are under the RCM. And silk yarn, this is also under RCM, but it is under RCM only when the silk yarn has been supplied by the manufacturer. Basically, who is the manufacturer of the silk yarn? Who draws the silk yarn from the cocoons and for the supply of silk yarn. And when he is manufacturing the silk yarn from the cocoons, it comes under the RCM to the registered person who is buying the silk yarn from that person who is manufacturing the silk yarn. And raw cotton is under RCM, that is also supplied by agriculturists, and that is a taxable commodity. These all are taxable commodities. If it could have been the exempted commodities, there was no need to put it in the RCM notification. Lottery by the government to the distributor agent pays the GST under reverse charge. Used vehicle, this entry was later on added, but it is very much applicable. Sometimes we forget it because there in many cases there are auction, as is where is auction by Indian Railway, by the government, and there is scrap, there is iron steel, there is used vehicle, there is confiscated goods, custom confiscated goods, GST confiscated goods, where the government, central government or state government or local authority is issuing the tender for purchase of these goods. Then in case it is a supply, the government will not be liable under the forward charge. The person who is buying these confiscated goods, used vehicle, will be liable to pay GST under reverse charge. So this is in the goods notification we have. And priority sector lending certificate, this is the bank which are using the certificates, and one bank is transferring to another bank. So in this case, the recipient is liable to pay GST, because these scripts, export scripts, and these certificates are treated as goods. That's why this RCM is here under this notification. Now, with this slight background of the goods which are covered under RCM, coming to the services, and which is the major part of the RCM, and which is the applicability is very wide, and 10/2017, and just going through one by one certain entries where the RCM would be applicable, and then will coming to the certain issues which are arising out of this 10/2017 notification, because this is the main core discussion. Import of services, as I have already told you, that import of services, and if you see the language of the entry, you will see a different type of language there. I'm saying it import of services, but if you read the language of the notification, it is not nowhere written that it is a import of services. It is a supplier in the non-taxable territory to a person in the taxable territory that we will see. So that is the important RCM, where we many times make defaults, and many times we business class forget to discharge the liability under the reverse charge. Then we have the GTA services under the reverse charge, and this is Goods Transport Agency is a limited agency. Courier are not there in reverse charge. Cargo handling is not there under reverse charge. They are in the normal. They generally charge 18% cargo handling services, or what we call the courier services. But GTA is the person who is issuing the documents to the title of goods, consignment note or bilty, which we commonly say. And in these cases, the RCM is applicable, because either the RCM is there, or in many cases that supply may be the exempt supply, because we need to categorize the supply into taxable and exempt also. RCM is not simple that simply you pay. If a particular supply is exempt, then it goes out of the RCM also. And that is very much true in supply by the government, which we will be discussing also. Supply of services by advocate or firm of advocates is under RCM. Services supplied by arbitral tribunal, arbitration. There are many arbitration proceedings going on, and the retired judges or the professionals or the advocates are doing the arbitration, and they are appointed by the court, or they may be appointed by the parties. Any fees paid to them is under the reverse charge. And services provided by way of sponsorship to any body, corporate or partnership firm. In this case, the person who is making the payment. The person who is making the payment is generally the recipient who is making the payment, because he is liable for making the payment. And the person who is making the payment of sponsorship will be liable in this case, either the company or the partnership firm. Then we have the supply of services by the government. This is again a very wide entry. Like in case of import of services, supply by government also very wide entry. We will be discussing it separately and trying to cover it up. But just I give you one example. If you are making a fees to registrar of companies for increase of the authorized capital, suppose the increase of the authorized capital fees is 2 lakh rupees and you are paying it to the ROC. Now think over whether RCM will be applicable on this or not. When you are paying the license fee to the government for procuring certain licenses, whether telecom licenses, spectrum licenses, or mining licenses, mining of stones, mining of sands, mining of natural resources, mining of oil, whether the RCM will be applicable or not. And small supplies can also be taken from the government that may be covered under the RCM. Then we have the RCM, which I was just referring to you, transfer of development right, floor space index, although they have covered in notification 9.3 also, but the purpose was to tax it in 9.4. Both ways it is covered. And this floor FSI or development rights, which initially I discussed, is under the RCM, and long-term lease and periodic lease or annual lease also by the landlord to the promoter is also under the RCM. This is conditional entries. There are so many conditions. Each of the entry under the notification of RCM needs to be analyzed separately because there are many conditions. Like in case of GTA, if the GTA is charging GST at the rate of 12%, then it is out of the RCM. There will not be any RCM. But if GTA is not charging at the rate of 12%, only mentioning 5% on the invoice, then this 5% is to be discharged by the recipient, not by the supplier. So these all entries have many conditions also. Then we have the services supplied by the director of a company to the company or body corporate. This is also nowadays very much discussed and litigated. And there is one advance ruling which has come from the Rajasthan Advance Ruling Authority, where it has been held that the services by director to the companies will be under RCM, even if he is rendering services as the employee. That also we would like to touch upon. So this is also covered. Services supplied by insurance agent to the insurance companies. These agents are not liable. The insurance companies are liable. Earlier in service tax also, this was the scenario. Further, there is RCM on recovery agent, and in that case, the banks or banking companies are liable to pay the reverse charge. And then there is an entry for ocean freight. Ocean freight is basically the import freight. Whenever there is an importer sitting in India and the freight from outside India till the custom station of India is being paid by the non-taxable person, person located in the non-taxable territory to another person located in the non-taxable territory, then also the importer has been made liable, where I was just referring the Gujarat High Court decision, and which has been followed by the Calcutta High Court also recently, that we will discuss. It is there, RCM. In supply of services by music composer, photographer, artist, and by way of transfer of permitting right to use, if to the producer or album making or the music company who are making the albums, then it is on the music company or the producer to pay the RCM on royalty, which is being paid to the photographers or the musicians. And then similar RCM is by way of copyright in case of books. When there is an author and the publisher is paying the royalty to the authors, then publisher is also liable to pay the RCM on the royalty being paid. In this case also one exception has been created. Then if the author is registered and he is charging the GST from the publisher, then the publisher will not pay the RCM. And one thing also fundamentally very clear, which we need to keep always in mind, that there could be only liability once. If there is a forward charge liability, there cannot be a reverse charge liability. If there is a reverse charge liability, there cannot be forward charge liability. There may be a dispute, there may be a discussion whether this particular transaction is under reverse charge or forward charge. And if later on, suppose the tax was paid under forward charge, and later on, suppose it was held to be taxable under reverse charge, then reverse charge tax will be collected from the recipient, and supplier can apply refund for the taxes paid subject to provisions of Section 54 of the CGST Act. And in a way, there cannot be a double liability on a single transaction. Then further coming to supply by members of overseas committee to the Reserve Bank of India, this is also under the reverse charge. Further few services, I am trying to highlight all the services which are under the RCM, so that it comes to our mind that these are services also taxable under the RCM, and then would like to discuss certain fine points between the lines, that where we are struggling day to day. And DSAs, direct selling agent, who are providing services to the banking companies or NBFC companies for marketing of their financial products, and they get the commission. So that is also under RCM, and banks and financial institutions are liable to pay tax under the RCM for this entry. Then we have the business facilitator concept under the banking companies. In this case, the BF is not liable, but the banking company will pay under the reverse charge. And services of lending of securities. And this is a concept as per the SEBI guidelines where you can lend your securities also. And by lending, you charge certain amount as a fee for lending. Like in a way, if there is a guarantee given by any person in favor of another person, and the person is charging guarantee fee, in a similar manner, in case of lending of securities, fees is charged. And in this case also, where the lending of securities is there, the person who is making the payment of fee is liable under reverse charge and not the person who is receiving. And similarly, reciprocal arrangement is also there, that any business correspondent gives services to the business facilitator, then it will also be liable for reverse charge. Security services, many times discussed this because it was also a new entry. Later on, it has been added that supply of manpower for security purposes, security guards to any registered person. So that will be also under the reverse charge. This also we will be discussing a little bit to elaborate it. And then we have the renting of motor vehicle. This was the latest entry which has been put into the RCM from the October 1st, 2019, that renting of motor vehicle also comes under the RCM. And what types of renting is there, that we will also try to cover it here. So this is the friends, the overall gamut of the services which are under reverse charge. Now, by the time I have covered the basic fundamentals, law, charging section of the reverse charge, and also the services covered under the reverse charge, and also the goods which are under the reverse charge. Now, certain procedural aspects, then when the liability arise for payment of GST under reverse charge. So this time of supply, we are working only for the limited use of RCM, because generally the time of supply provisions are for all other cases also. And in case of section 12, it is applicable for goods and 13 applicable for services. Now, first coming to the supply of goods, where in case of goods, when will be the liability to pay RCM arise? So this is the case. These are the three events, and earliest of these three events, the recipient will be liable to pay reverse charge. This is in case of goods. Like we can take an example of raw cotton, which is being sold by the agriculturist to another registered person. Suppose, take example, a registered person had purchased the raw cotton worth rupees 1 lakh from the agriculturist. Now, first date is date of receipt of goods. If he has received the goods today, say 22nd of April 2020, date on which the payment is made, he has already made the payment as advance on 31st of March 2020. The date immediately following the 30 days from the issue of invoice. That is also very important, that in many cases invoice is issued and payment is not made, and the goods are also certain times not received. Now, if these three dates are there, when you pay the RCM, the person who has purchased the raw cotton, because he has given the payment on 31st March, received the goods today, and supposing the invoice has been issued 2 days prior to today, any 20th of April. Now the earlier date is 31st March. So it means receive the goods, date on which payment is made on 31st March. The earliest date is 31st March, then the liability will come on 31st March. And he should have discharged RCM liability in the month of March GSTR 3B return. The time of supply is directly linked to your GSTR 3B. Then when you will reflect the transaction in GSTR 3B, that is the time of supply. So if this is the case, which we have taken the example, and suppose the payment has not been yet made, but goods has been received today, that is 22nd of April, then it will be reflected in GSTR 3B for the month of April, and liability will arise from the date of receipt of goods. Now, in case of services, what law says about the payment of liability under RCM? there are two dates. One is the date on which the payment is made. Like, unlike goods, there is no date for receipt of services. The date immediately following the 60 date from issue of invoice. This is very important. Suppose an advocate has issued an invoice on 31st of March 2020, but payment is not given to the advocate for payment of fees. Once the 60 days is over on 30th of May, the liability to pay RCM will be there even if the payment of fees has not been made to the advocate. So that is the two events where the earliest event will be the time of supply of services in case of RCM. So this we need to take care. This is the procedural aspects of the RCM. Now further some procedural aspects relating to the RCM I am discussing. So as I tried to cover each and every aspect related to RCM here, so that it is a combined package for RCM. Now, very important issue, liability to the registered due to RCM. You may be knowing that there is one section 24 which talks about the compulsory registration in certain cases, and there is one clause in that is clause III, clause 3. The section says, notwithstanding anything contained in subsection 1 of 22, the following categories of persons shall be required to register under this act. Person who are required to pay tax under reverse charge. So it means if any person is liable to pay RCM, the turnover of 20 lakh, 10 lakh, whatever limit goes, and from single rupee he becomes liable to register. Once he becomes liable to register and takes the registration, see the important part. If the registration has been taken due to the RCM, but after the registration, all outward supplies of that person will also become taxable. Normal supplies will also become taxable. Commercial rent which is being received will also become taxable. So this is the very important part. And we have litigation also in this part. But government is very much clear and again clarified. And then they are saying if there is a liability to pay RCM, the liability to registration arise. What exactly the dispute is? There is one section 23 which talks about that persons not liable for registration. When that section says the person not liable for registration, it includes any person engaged exclusively in the business of supplying the goods or services that are not liable or wholly exempt from tax under this act. If a person is dealing on any exclusively on the exempt commodity, exempt services, then he is not liable for registration. And this is under section 23. But suppose the person, like we have a very live example of books publisher. Books are exempt under the GST. And suppose a publisher is dealing only exclusively in books, no other material, stationery, paper, supplies, nothing, not at all. And he is making the payment of royalty to the author for these books. And royalty to author is under the notification, under RCM. And he has to take a registration for making the payment of the royalty. But if you see the scheme of law, this section 24 has not overruled section 23. Section 23 remains there. What section 24 has overruled is the section 22, meaning thereby the basic threshold limit has been overruled by the mandatory registration. Then it should not be a case if a person is otherwise exempt under section 23, he should not be made liable for registration by virtue of section 24 provisions. And this is what my personal opinion is. But practically what is happening, if there is any RCM liability, the government is asking to take the registration and suppliers are also paying the tax, and it has been almost accepted by the business unless until we have any judicial pronouncement on this issue, whether section 24 over many advanced ruling are also saying yes, 24 is a separate section and the liability will arise even in case the person is covered under section 23. Now coming to the next issue, Next is GST payable under RCM to be paid through e-cash ledger only. This is very, again, which we are doing regularly. If you want to pay GST, you cannot pay GST out of the ITC balance, out of the e-credit ledger PMT2. You have to pay GST by e-cash ledger PMT5. And this is what the section 49(4) is talking about, that e-credit ledger can be utilized for the payment of output tax. And RCM is not output tax, hence RCM has to be paid from e-cash ledger because it is not covered in section 49(4). It will be covered in 49(3). Because if you see the definition of section 2 clause 82, which defines the output tax, it has been specifically excluded tax payable under RCM. So when it has been specifically excluded, then it is not covered in output tax, and section 49(4) is not applicable, as you need to pay it through cash only. Next issue, self-invoicing. What does it mean? How much this self-invoice concept is important? We know that this self-invoice concept is very important so far as the GST law is concerned, because you know in GST, ITC's credit is based on invoice. And in case of RCM also, the ITC credit is based on self-invoice. So when the credit is based on self-invoice, you must have the self-invoice in possession of you. And this is the section 31, which talks about the invoicing. And there is one clause F of subsection 3 about that whenever there is a receipt of supplies from the unregistered suppliers which are liable for RCM, then the invoice will be prepared by the recipient. So this is only in case the supplier is unregistered. If the supplier is registered, even though the liability is under reverse charge, then there is no need for self-invoice. That invoice will be sufficient for claiming the ITC, even though the tax has been paid by the recipient. Then come to payment voucher. In section 31, section 31 itself, there is one more provision, G clause, which says that if any RCM payment has been made to the party for where the liability is under RCM, then at the time of making payment to the supplier, a payment voucher is required to be prepared. So this is also the procedural liability in case of RCM. Coming to the next issue, which is important issue, almost we have understood it now, settled part, but I've taken it that many times there could be confusion that in case of RCM, what tax should we pay? Whether it is IGST or CGST, SGST, many questions come. If any businessman who is the recipient is paying freight to any goods transport agency, whether he is supposed to discharge CGST or SGST or IGST, in many cases, the person keep on paying CGST and SGST without seeing the nature of actual transaction. As it has already been discussed that RCM is the extension only of the normal tax liability. The nature of supply remains the same. The nature of supply is governed by IGST Act section 7, section 8. And if it is an interstate supply, there will be the IGST under RCM. If it is a local intra-state supply, there will be a CGST, SGST. You will check it normally, normal concept, as if the forward charge was there. What was the nature of supply? The same nature will remain in case of RCM. Forward charge concepts are same as it is applicable for RCM. Now, what is the concept? Section 7, subsection 3 talks about that. In case of services only, I have taken this example to understand the provision. That's domestic, subject to section 12. When it will be a interstate supply, when the location of supplier and place of supply are in two different states, two different union territory, or one state and one union territory, then it will be an interstate supply. Now take an example. If the transporter is of Gujarat and the recipient goods has been received in Mumbai, Maharashtra, and Maharashtra businessman is paying the RCM liability, then it will be a IGST under the reverse charge. Then how do you know that transporter belongs to Gujarat? Whenever you see the invoice of the transporter under which you are making the payment, or in many cases, this consignment note or bill itself is showing the payment of freight also. What is the address from where this bill has been issued? If that address, location of the supplier is of Gujarat, then the location of supplier goes to Gujarat and place of supply is in Maharashtra. It will be IGST transaction and IGST is required to be paid. I give you another example also. There is one section, subsection 4 also, which specifically talks, this is the IGST which we are discussing, that the services imported into the territory of India shall be treated a supply of services in the course of interstate trade. So in case of import of service, it will always be IGST. You cannot pay CGST, SGST. Why? Because section 7, subsection 4 is talking there. In the similar manner, we need to see section 7 and subsection 3 also. What is the nature of supply will remain the same. Now, coming to a issue, eligibility of ITC against tax paid under RCM. Many issues had we were facing 2017 and 18, whether this RCM is eligible for ITC. In many cases, in case of particularly GTA, many professionals and people used to say, if we go to the rate notification 11/2017 or rate notification 9/2010 or 8/2010, in the rate notification, it is written in case of GTO 5% without ITC. And if 5% is without ITC, then there will not be any ITC for 5%. This is not the case. This rate is for supplier that he will not avail the ITC. But as a recipient, if you are making the payment 5% under RCM, then you are not claiming the ITC in relation to transport services, but this is your input service, and due to this becomes your input service, you are eligible to claim the ITC orange. And it is clear in section 2, subsection 62 also, which is the definition section, which defines the input tax. If you see the definition of input tax, it includes specifically, there are 4 clauses: the tax payable under the provision of 3 and 4 of section 9, 3 and 4 of section 5 IGST, 3 and 4 of SGST, 3 and 4 of UTGST. So any tax paid under RCM is covered well within the definition of input tax. And if all other conditions, I'm going to that also, all other normal conditions are fulfilled, you can very well avail the credit against the tax paid under the RCM. What are all other conditions? Eligibility for claiming the RCM ITC. That is general provisions, and general provision we see that definition, whether it is covered in input services or not, whether it is covered under section 16 conditions, there are 4 conditions, whether it is under block credits, if it is under block credits, then you will not be claiming the ITC. All other normal provisions relating to input tax credit will be applicable. So you will see the eligibility conditions normally. And what you will further do, there is one section 16(2) clause C, which says that the ITC can be availed if tax has been actually paid to the government, either by cash or through utilization of input tax credit admissible in respect of the said supply. Now the question comes, when can we claim the ITC of RCM paid? Whether it is in the same month. Suppose I give you example of 31st March. 31st March 2020, any liability for RCM arose and you made the payment in the GSTR 3B of March. Now the question is whether you can claim the ITC for the same tax in the same month, March GSTR 3B as the ITC. This is the question. And where the divided opinions sometimes come. I have tried to cover all litigated issues also where divided opinions are there. But as a tax practitioner, as a business consultant, we take a different call. As a litigator, as a adjudicator, we take a different call. So we need to analyze the thing to whom we are giving the advice. But if you see whether it can be taken in the same month or it will be in the next month, because once you pay the liability. If you see the conditions for claiming this section 16 to C, there is one section 41 which talks about the provisional claim of the ITC, and where it has not been mentioned whether this section will only be applicable for invoice based RCC ITC, or whether it will be applicable for RCM also. Although I have already told you RCM ITC also invoice based. I give you the exact rule also. You see rule 36(1)(b) of the CGST rules, where they are talking about the documentary requirement for claiming the ITC. And documentary requirement for claiming the ITC in case of RCM, you switch. It is an invoice issued in accordance with the provisions of clause F of 31(3), subject to payment of tax. It makes it clear that RCM ITC is also invoice based, but the further condition is subject to payment of tax. The payment of tax is required, but only after payment of tax you will be eligible to claim, or you can do it in the same month. My opinion is you can do it in the same month. Although there are different views also. Why? Because if you see this section 41, where the claim of ITC on provisional basis has been allowed to the suppliers, and that will be further subject to scrutiny or further matching concept or whatever. Then if you are making the payment of GST under RCM in the same return, it means you are discharging liability in the same return. You have complied with the condition for payment of tax also, and you are taking the credit based on your 4 condition in section 16, that services has been received, you have the proper invoice in your hand, RCM invoice, you have made the payment of taxes, and 4th, you have received the services and goods. All these conditions are, you have filed the return. So return also you are filing, payment also you are making, and you can provisionally claim the ITC, and that's what these provisions are talking about. Then going further to the, there is one exemption to the persons making supply, like goods transport agency, where the liability is under RCM. So many goods transporter agencies are not registered under GST. Why? Even though they are making a taxable supply, even though their turnover is in crores, but by notification 5/2017, any person who is engaged exclusively in supply where the recipient is liable to pay tax, he is not exempted from the taking the registration. So this exemption is also very important, where many suppliers are not registered because their supplies are taxable under the RCM. Now, certain critical issue, I think 5-10 minutes, if you allow me, I will go through this critical issue, and then we will open the forum for queries. The first issue is whether SEZ units are liable for RCM. This is the question. Now see, how do we discuss this issue? Although in a clarification, FAQ government has said, yes, they are liable for RCM. But what is the reason? If a normal supplier is giving supply to any recipient, if the normal supplier is giving supply to SEZ, that can be treated as zero rated. You see section, first of all, section 7(5), where the supply to or by special economic zone is interstate supply. So first of all, it is always IGST. That is okay. Then we come to zero rated supply. If you see this section 16, zero rated supply means any of the following supply, which is the supply of goods or services to SEZ. If any person normally supplying to the SEZ, he can claim it as zero rated supply. What I am saying, he can claim it because this is the option benefit given by the IGST Act. And in this case, there are 2 options given, either to pay tax and then claim the refund, or to supply SEZ without payment of tax. Now, once the supply is under RCM, then it is out of the zero rated option, because zero rated supply can be claimed by the supplier only, not by the recipient. So that's why the government clarified on the FAQs 15 December that the SEZ also liable for RCM. Now, if SEZ is availing the services of advocate, SEZ is availing the services of goods transport agency, all the list which we have discussed, there can be a liability to pay RCM by the SEZ. Reason being, the SEZ cannot treat it as the zero rated, the supplier, but there is liability is not in forward charge. So that's why this answer is affirmative. Now, another critical issue is, friends, if you see all the critical issues have many dimensions, and if we discuss thread-bearing discussion, it could have the whole day in discussion of the RCM itself. RCM is not a small issue, and I would give credit to the organizers, and I would give credit to the professionals sitting over there to choose this subject. Although it has been asked to me, you can take any subject, but I ask the organizers to select the subject themselves, and they have given me the topic, this RCM. This government supply is, it's very wide. I have given you one example of ROC services for any type of services by the registrar of companies where we are making the payment. Now, if you see, there is one serial number 6 of the notification number 10/2017. This is only certain issues I am discussing where the critical issues are there. That only I am discussing. What type of services are there? The services supplied by the government, state government or local authority, any service, but excluding this 1, 2, 3. Excluding this renting and Department of Post, transportation of goods and passenger, and this is custom related service, aircraft and vessel, because these all 4 services are in forward charge. Renting also I am coming again, but this speed post service or the Indian Railways for supply of passenger or goods, these are all in forward charge. Except these, any supply of service by the government is under reverse charge. Now it's a very wide domain. You need to understand, and once the entry is too wide, then you need to carefully examine the exemption notifications also. I give you another entry also. This is 6A. What this 6A says, in first entry, which I was discussing, entry number 6. In entry number 6, the renting of immovable property was excluded from the RCM. But if that service is provided to the registered person, then again it is under the RCM. It means for renting of properties, there are 2 cases. If renting of immovable property by the government to unregistered, then it will be forward charge, government will charge. If renting of immovable property to a registered person, then government will not charge, the registered person will pay the 18% GST under RCM. This is what. And apart from this, postal and all, there are n number of services which can be there supplied by government. Now the question comes whether government can make supplies. Very well, it is a long discussion, but I am just giving you the fact. Government is covered within the definition of person specifically. Government is covered within the business definition specifically. Government also do business. Government also do person normally. But in these cases, supply of services cases, it is not for goods. In case of goods, it is in forward charge. If any government is doing any business of goods, many government sometimes sell certain, tender document or certain other document which are covered under the definition of goods, then the government is liable. But supply of services is under RCM. Now see the exemption entries, few entries which I am highlighting very fastly, that in these cases, the services per se are exempt. When the services per se are exempt, it will not be covered in RCM. Then you are free. Means you can make a payment to government and you need not to pay RCM also. 243W Constitution, Municipality, 243G Panchayat. Then we have small business class where turnover is up to 20 lakhs, because there is a blanket exemption for registration also. If any person, business entity whose turnover is up to 20 lakh, then it is exempt. And then we have government to government service, no RCM exemption, because when exemption there is no RCM. Up to 5,000 rupees. Now, what I was saying, that when there is a supply of service by the government and which is up to 5,000, so many services will become exempt under RCM also, because it is, if ROC fees is paid for 1,000, no RCM, because it is up to 5,000 per service. 5,000 per service exempt, but in case of continuous supply of service, 5,000 per financial year. Then we have exemption for registration under any law for the time being in force, testing, calibration, safety certificates, registration. There is an exemption for passport, visa, driving license services also, birth certificate, death certificate also. Why all these exemptions are there? Because other than these, all are taxable. Tolerance, non-performance, if you are paying liquidated damages to the government under a contractual agreement, suppose there is a contract from NHAI and there is a violation of any term, and then there is a payment of liquidated damages to the NHAI or any other government, then the RCM will not be there, because if you are making a payment to government, it is exempt. So likewise, I'm not discussing all these entries. It is there. I will share the PDF also. You can see and you can analyze also. So this is the scenario of supply of services by the government. I think time is approaching. If you are allowing me 5-10 minutes, it will take only 5 to 10 minutes. Otherwise, I will close here. You just give me a bell for this.
No, please continue. Continue.
Import of services. This I started. I started this. I wanted to ask you many questions. If this could have been the interactive discussion, we are enjoying many interactive discussions since the starting of GST. But I had a privilege today to talk to you on this digital platform. Anyway, the question is, why there is a GST on import of service? Because supplier is sitting out of India. Supplier is sitting out of India. I am here. Where is the liability? Because suppose supplier is sitting out of India, will there be any liability under forward charge? There is no liability under forward charge, because if supplier is outside India and you are recipient in India, forward charge, the supplier sitting outside India is not liable. That's why in section 7, I gone through, the import of services has been specifically included in definition of supply. So it is now supply. Why not import of goods? Why only import of services? Although these are issues not directly to the RCM, but I am dealing it here. Reason thereby, in case of import of goods, it is not supply, because under the custom law, there is a mechanism, there is a physical removal, there is a physical, clearance from the custom department. And there we have handled under the Customs Tariff Act 1975, we have handled about the payment of IGST. But in case of import of services, it is in the definition of supply, because we want to tackle it here. And for goods, there is a separate proviso in section 5.1. So in case of import of services, the entry is serial number 1 of the notification. Now you see this entry and you will nowhere found that it is written that it is an import of service. Any service supplied by any person who is located in a non-taxable territory to any person other than non-taxable online recipient. Any person, this entry is a wide entry, which I am saying one of the most wide entry in the GST law. Because in the definition you have seen, whether in furtherance of business or not, even for personal use, you are importing service, you may be liable. I will come to the exemption also. But this is a wide entry. And who is the supplier of service? Any person located in non-taxable territory. There is nothing about import of services. But when you see the scheme, when you see the definition of supply, it has to be importation of service. One, it is importation of service all the conditions relating to the importation of service should be fulfilled. Location of supplier should be out of India. Location of supplier should be in India. Place of supply, very important, should be in India. And these conditions will be fulfilled, then it will be only importation of service. Once it is importation of service, then it is comes in the definition of supply, then only this entry can be made applicable. By way of simple language, confusing language in the notification, you cannot make it applicable. I give you one example, then you will understand the intricacy of this. A company in India goes for exhibition in Dubai, and there is a big exhibition, and he takes the premises in the exhibition for 15 days and makes the payment of rent in the Dubai. Now the question is whether it is covered under the import of services, whether any RCM will be applicable. If you see this entry, serial number 1, it is very clearly saying any person located in non-taxable territory. Yes, the exhibition which is being held in the Dubai was being held by the person located in Dubai. Recipient of service located in the taxable territory. Yes, the businessman is located in Mumbai. It is in taxable territory. Other than non-taxable online recipient, this non-taxable online recipient, OIDAR, may not be able to take it completely, but online data, whatever the facilities we are having in mobile phone and laptop would download the contents, that is separate, where the supplier has been made liable because it is not under RCM. And supplier outside India is compelled to take registration in India, and he has to take in India either through himself or through representative. So that has been excluded. But the example which I am giving you of the exhibition charges, it is in this notification, it seems that it is covered because the person is in India and the supplier is in non-taxable territory, but it is not coming within the definition of import of service. Why? Because it is related to a movable property. Exhibition is held as per section 13. The place of supply goes to the place where the exhibition is held, and it goes to the Dubai, and place of supply is not in India. There cannot be a liability under RCM under this clause. So that's why this is the severity. I'm going further because 2-3 more entries I would like to discuss. In this import also, we have a exemption entry. This 9/2017, I want to narrow down the situation that the exemption has been given, and mainly because you can refer this serial number 10 entry, mainly which I want to highlight here, that any services received from the provider of services located non-taxable territory by individual in relation to any purpose other than commerce, industry, or other business or profession. If any individual is receiving any services from person located outside India for personal use, that has been exempted, and government has been exempted. Educational institution like ICAI, ICWI, or Company Secretaries Institute, higher educational institute, who are paying the payment for what you call online educational general, they have been exempted. So there is no reverse charge once the entry itself is exempted. So this is also, so this import of services needs very careful discussion. And you see, in import of services there are 2 further exemption also. This is serial number 10G and 10H. Import of services by United Nations has been exempted. Import of services by foreign diplomatic missions has been exempted. These only examples which I am quoting here to enable the discussion. And further, one more point: ocean freight, very litigated and disputed issue. Although now we can say for the time being in the safe hands till the judgments are overruled, or the government should be planning to file the appeal to Supreme Court, and due to COVID-19, this could have been delayed. Either the stay comes from the Supreme Court or a special leave petition is admitted by the Supreme Court. This overseas freight is entry serial number 10 of notification number 10/2017. The interesting part is that the whole discussion which we started from the conceptual part, the supply definition, the whole discussion, if you see, the whole discussion what we started, that either the supplier is liable under 9(1) or the recipient is liable under 9(3) or 9(4). In this entry, neither the supplier nor the recipient is liable to pay. Who is liable to pay? the importer, a new person. That's why because you have to understand this litigation also very carefully. If the importer of service is the person who is making payment of ocean freight in India, then it is very well taxable even today. We are not talking, and this entry is not applicable. This is a general taxability. This entry is applicable where by way of transportation of goods by vessel from place outside India to custom stations of clearance in India, and the supplier of service is person located in non-taxable territory. And who is the actual recipient? Actual recipient is also in non-taxable territory. But what we are doing, we are treating the importer as a recipient. So that's why the court held nothing going. This is the extra jurisdiction, excessive delegation of power and the excessive use of delegated legislation, and struck down this entry by the Honorable High Court. And this is the Mohit Minerals Private Limited versus Union of India. This is January case only, and Gujarat High Court. And it has been followed by many other decisions in Gujarat High Court and recently in Calcutta High Court. These are the observations. I have told you the observations in brief, and you can read it. And only the one line I am reading: the levy and collection of the tax of such ocean freight under the impugned notification is not permissible in the law. Means it is excessive use of delegated legislation, where the recipient has been deemed to someone else, which has been not given in the law. And the judgments which followed is SR Power Gujarat Limited. This is Gujarat High Court. Anmol India Limited. This is also Gujarat High Court. Gokul Agro. This is also Gujarat High Court. Gujarat State Electricity Corporation. And then recently we have MCPI Private Limited. This is Calcutta High Court. In all these cases, these entries has been struck down, Mohit Minerals has been followed, and there is no liability on the importer to pay RCM 5% on ocean freight on CIF value. There is 10% value also given in this particular. Now, services by director and RCM. This is also being litigated nowadays. The supply. Rakesh ji, are you comfortable for 2-3 minutes, or already I have consumed time?
No, continue, please.
Okay, fine. This, this is serial number 7 of this notification. And if you see the entry, it is very simply saying, actually, this should not have been the intent of the entry, but it has been used like this. The services supplied by director of a company or body corporate to the said company or body corporate. Now, what services? The services supplied mean any services. Director may be owning immovable property and given on rent to the company. That is also services. Director may be a consultant and charging consultation fee. That is also services. So any services is covered under the RCM, then it becomes very wide. And director may be the employee of the company and drawing the remuneration also. And once it is a remuneration, then whether it is a taxable, as a concept which we have dwelled upon today, there is no question of paying the RCM on a particular service, which is neither a service nor a service of goods as per Schedule 3. Now let's see what this advanced ruling is saying. This is a Claycraft India Private Limited, and this is 20th February advanced ruling. What is the observation? Observation that we further observe that consideration paid to the director against the supply of services provided by them to the applicant company and are not covered under clause 1 of the Schedule 3 of the CGST Act. This is clause 1. I will just refer also. Employee-employer relationship. As directors are not the employee of the company. In the instant case, director is the supplier of service and the applicant company is the recipient of service. How you can derive a conclusion that directors are not the employee of the company? We are using this concept from Companies Act, from Income Tax Act angle, income from other sources, income from salary. It is a well-established, well-discussed, practiced concept that director may be executive director, he may be managing director, he may be a finance director, he may be any other director, sales director, marketing director, and he's drawing the salary. How come this salary comes as a supply of services by the director, which is not covered in Schedule 3? This is very, I am not unable to understand at all. And if you see this Schedule 3 entry, services by employee to employer in the course of in relation to his employment. So important part, what I could say here as a silver line, which we should have taken care of, that there should be terms of employment between the company and the director, that we should carefully devise. It is not only that some services are being paid by the director. There should be employment letter. There should be the terms of employment. And if those terms of employment exist, I don't see any reason to be covered in the Schedule 3 of the CGST Act. So this is what the litigation which is going on. Renting of motor vehicle, this is only just I am giving you. Renting of motor vehicle has also been kept under the RCM. Many fine points are here, but what I would simply say, renting of motor vehicle designed to carry passenger where cost of fuel is included in the consideration. And who is the recipient? Any body corporated located in the taxable territory. So it means if any supply of service by way of renting of motor vehicle other than body corporate, to provided to the body corporate, then the RCM will come. Here you have to keep in mind, this is the body corporate. It is not written that registered person or registered body corporate. If body corporate is unregistered and supplier is individual or HUF or firm, then section 24 will comes into the trigger and he has to take the registration because he becomes liable for RCM. So that is the point we need to take care. Many issues can be discussed on this, but prima facie, this entry is need to be taken care of, and very important entry nowadays. And just a small slide which I have made for this renting of motor vehicles. Renting with operator is basically hiring of motor vehicles. It is generally with operator and with fuel. And if you see the rate of tax, it is 5% without the benefit of ITC. It can be in forward charge also, it can be in reverse charge also. But GTA, it can only be in reverse charge 5%. Forward charge, it has to be 12%. So it is unlike the GTA. There is a difference between both these two entries. And if you see the renting of any other transport vehicle, there may be any other vehicle, the rate is 18%. And if renting is without operator, basically in these cases, we say right to use. Zoom car, if you have seen, you have a self-driven the vehicle, then the rate will come the 18%. And it is the basically right to use, leasing, rental. So there should be a distinction between the hiring and the right to use. When it is with the chauffeur driver, it is hiring. It is in the control effective position of the driver itself. And when it is without driver, this 5% entry is not applicable. It is, 18%. So this I tried to cover up the RCM, although there may be another issues in RCM also. I have tried to cover. Thank you very much, and thank you all of you.
Hello, thank you, sir. It was really a power-packed session, a very wonderful session. Now we will take question answer session. First question is from Varsha. Do we have to issue a self-invoice in GST for RCM supplies from unregistered person? As per section 31(3)(f), a registered person who is liable to pay tax under section 9(3) and 9(4) or 9(4) shall issue an invoice in respect of goods or services received by him from the supplier who is not registered. So I couldn't hear you. So you are not audible. Rohit sir. विजय सर आवाज नहीं आ रही रोहित सर की. Vijay sir. Hello.
Yes, now I think you can hear me.
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Actually, you have blocked my mutation. I could not have unmuted my. That's
Acha, acha, it is Vijay sir is controlling that. Acha, okay.
uh,
Sir, you get the question, first question.
yeah.
Should I read again?
I have already answered this. If the supply is received from unregistered person and it is under RCM, self invoice is required, and it is very important document because the credit is based on the document self invoice, which is the document evidencing the payment of tax. It is required.
This is from Ravindaran. Once the director is full-time employment with the company, no GST applicable on the remuneration paid on employment. Nowhere it mentioned as only services under director's capacity liable to reverse tax. It means once the service done by director to the company, it is liable to reverse tax. Further, if no reverse charge paid and if the department demand letter where no input tax credit eligible, whereas if reverse charge paid and it can be taken input tax credit. Issues. Issues whether all other services say rent. I think there are many questions. Sir, you take first three questions. This.
Yeah, just a minute.
Rakesh, take one by one.
Actually, sir, okay. Should I read again, sir?
No, I have heard your question,
Okay.
and this I have covered in the last slides also, that services by director to the company. It is the dispute. Dispute is that relating to salary, I have already given you my opinion also. It should not be covered under the RCM because it is supply schedule 3 supply and it is neither a supply of goods and services. But so far as this other services are concerned, as the notification says it is under RCM, so it should be discharged under RCM. ITC is available or not, that is a separate issue. That's why government wants. If ITC is not available, there will be a loss to the government. So whether ITC is available or not available, this is immaterial. But if it is under RCM, the liability should be discharged.
Whether all other services, say renting of property by director to the company, will be liable under on reverse charge basis by the recipient.
This is all what I have myself discussed already. I have given this example only.
Yes, sir.
What is the intent of the notification do not seems to be like this, but the language of the notification says that services, once it is says the services, these should have been services as a director, meaning thereby sitting fees, meeting fees and all other charges which is generally paid to the directors by the company. Government needs to clarify this issue or make the necessary amendment in the RCM notification. And till the time it is clarified, the language of the notification says that services means any service.
If the department takes stand that the GST liability is under forward charge basis, can it deny the input tax credit taken by the company?
No, the GST input tax credit, as per my view, will not be denied, whether it is in the forward charge or in the reverse charge. If you have paid the tax and you have very well taken the ITC, so that is extra liability. If you have paid and validly taken ITC, there should not be any issue with that.
If the department demands from director on forward basis, can the company submit that based on its ample case laws that where whole exercise is revenue neutral, hence such demand is not sustainable?
Sir, initially I covered this. So
Okay.
there cannot be a double liability on a supply.
Sir, this
If
how should self-invoice be shown in GSTR1?
no, GSTR1, there is no need to submit the self-invoice because GSTR1 is the data which supplier is supposed to submit, not the recipient. If GTA is having invoice, then it is required in GSTR1, not the recipient. So there is no question of submitting the self-invoice in GSTR1. There is the question of this. It is for output supply, not the inward supplies.
This question is from Manoj Dodeja. In case of labor job work contract given by manufacturer, is RCM applicable?
Not, there is no entry for labor contractor. It is only the security services, the security guards. No labor. It was in service tax earlier.
This is from Prerna Jain. Various charges paid by builder to the governmental authorities in the course of acquiring sanctions, plan, etc. Whether liable to RCM.
If it is not covered in any one of the exemption entry, then it is liable for RC. You need to
Parking.
read exemption entry carefully.
Oh. C.A. Jairam Oswani, parking contractor for Central Railway liable to pay RCM for license fees paid for it?
Yes.
Okay. Atur Rahman sir, fixed monthly fees paid for legal services to advocate liable for RCM?
Can you repeat it again?
Fixed monthly fees paid
Uh,
for legal services to advocate,
yes,
whether
liable.
liable for RCM?
Liable.
Okay.
Any fee paid to advocate or form of advocate, RCM.
This is from Manoj Jaglani ji. What's overall motto of government when RCM collections are allowed credit is in total liabilities of RCM payee. So for every RCM paid allowable credit from total liabilities available. So how additional revenue is generated by RCM?
No, no, this is not the case at all. This is actually a value-added tax system. If you are saying, forget about RCM. If any GST paid is allowed at RCM, then where is the need to pay the GST? In the value-added tax system, this is a chain of transactions is there. And the ITC may or may not be there. ITC is subject to conditions. ITC is subject to fulfillment of the condition. It is not your inherent right to claim the ITC. It is subject to provisions. So this is question is against the concept of value-added tax.
This is from Santosh Chauhan. Liquor license renewal fees paid to state government whether RCM will be applicable since VAT is paid on liquor under VAT law.
You know, license fee for liquor has been recently exempted, and because it was a long litigated issue, if it could not have been exempted, then there was a RCM. But now on liquor license, there is no RCM.
What are the consequences of not issuing self-invoice and claiming ITC?
It is a procedural lapse, and relating to the procedural lapse, general penalty can be there, and even the ITC can be held to be denied on because you don't have the document against which you are taking the ITC.
This is from Om Prakash ji. RCM liability of financial year 17-18 paid under GSTR 9C. Can we claim ITC during financial year 19-20?
My view is no. Although it is again a litigated issue, some people say that if you are making liability today, then you can, there is no question of ITC, reason being it is based on the self-invoice, and self-invoice has become time barred. And although this 16.4, section 16.4 of the CGST Act, my view is no.
From Shailesh Ramji, transporter having turnover above 20 lakhs need to register under GST?
If he is exclusively in RCM, he is not charging 12%. And even if his turnover is in crores, he need not to register as notification number 5/2017, which I have referred just.
This is from Dhaval Patwa. GTA service is covered under RCM and service recipient is required to pay tax under RCM, but GTA has option to pay 12% under forward charge and can avail ITC. Now, my question is, can GTA charge 5% without taking ITC? If yes, then can service recipient claim ITC of that 5% or still has to pay GST under reverse charge?
You know, this question needs to be clear very much properly, because a lot of confusion is there. If it is forward charge, it is 12% rate. There is no 5% rate in forward charge. So there is no question of charging 5%. If you charge 12% on a single invoice, from the date of that invoice, you have to charge 12% from all the invoices thereafter. There is no choice for 5%. You are out of the RCM. You are out of the 5% rate. And for claiming the ITC for the recipient, if he is paying in RCM 5%, he can claim it. If he is paying 12% in forward charge, he can claim the ITC. There is no denial in both the cases.
This is from Raju Jinde. GST on directors' remuneration, whether GST liable on directors' remuneration. I think you have taken
Already
this.
covered. I don't.
Already covered, sir. CA Jairam ji, there is threshold limit of 20 lakhs is applicable also in import of services for RCM.
No, no, not applicable.
Again from Jairam ji, renting of trucks without driver, RCM applicable, where registered person charging 18% GST. Renting of trucks without driver.
Renting of motor vehicle for persons is under RCM. Renting of truck to transporter is already exempt. So you need to take care that hiring of truck by the GTA is exempt. So take carefully read the RCM entry. It is renting of motor vehicle for passenger. Rate is 18%. I am saying, but if truck is being rented to a GTA, then it is service per se is exempt.
This is from Harish ji, Harish Lalwani ji. Sorry sir, this is not a question actually. So this is from Jairam ji. Company have ship owner given on hire to out of India as service. Services are export services. Manpower and other running expenses are doing. There shall it means import of services and liability to pay RCM.
You know, this is subjective case. It need to be examined in detail. It cannot be straight away answered.
Fees paid to MCA. This is from Divya Lalwani. Fees paid to MCA to increase authorized share capital will attract RCM.
Yes, as per my view, it will attract if it is more than 5,000 rupees. 5,000, you can claim the exemption.
Last two questions. Shaggan Bhanushali. Advocate received professional fees more than 20 lakhs liable for GST.
Received, who received?
Advocate received professional fees.
Advocate is under RCM.
Okay.
And if there is no other supply other than the legal services, he need not to take any registration. How much will be the amount? It may be more than 20 lakh. There is no issue.
This is from Chandni. Car given on lease by partner to firm, whether RCM applicable.
No, it is under forward charge.
I think we have covered all the questions.
In this case also rate of tax will be the rate of motor vehicle. Because there are three types of, arrangements for motor vehicle. One is the hiring, another is right to use, and third is the lease. So it seems to be the lease transactions. Yes, Rakesh.
I think we have covered all the questions, sir. Thank you for your reply. I think all the participants are satisfied with your answers. I again thankful to Tax Practitioners Association Thane, TPA, Bhiwandi Tax Practitioners Association, Income Tax Bar Association, Varanasi Income Tax Bar Association, Prayagraj, and Tax Friend for being with us in this webinar. Now I request Ajay Talreja ji to please offer a vote of thanks to our today's speaker. Sir, Ajay Talreja ji, please. Hello.
I think
Ajay
Arvind ji has also joined.
Yeah, Ajay, please.
Hello,
Ajay,
can you hear me, sir?
Yeah.
On behalf of all the organizers of this webinar and the participants, I would like to offer a vote of thanks to CA Rohit Vaswani ji. Thank you, Rohit ji, for your valuable insights on this complicated topic of RCM. And I'm sure we all go home richer, or rather we are at home, but we go back richer in knowledge about this topic. I'm sure we are going to face this litigation a lot by the department authorities shortly after things resume. And your lecture is definitely going to be very helpful to us. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rohit sir.
Thank you, Rohit ji, for accepting the invitation. Thank you very much.